I had a baby from an affair, and now his wife is contacting me. The author of the post is listed in the description. I, F, 26, had an affair with a married man, M, 42, a few years ago. I had no clue he was married when we first met and hooked up. I obviously looked him up on social media, and while he did have photos of his kids on there was absolutely no mention or photos of a wife at all. I found out that he was married about a month after we first got together, but he told me it was just a marriage on paper and that they basically lived separate lives and agreed to remain married for practical purposes until the kids were older. They owned a business, which she really ran, and he was just financially involved in. I knew at the time that I probably shouldn't believe him, but I convinced myself it was true. I was in my early 20s and so attracted to him, and I guess almost infatuated with him. He made me feel so good. I know now that I should have ended it immediately, but I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I was addicted to all of the attention he gave me, the great sex, the places he'd take me. I felt special. I was so naive. I got pregnant about a year into seeing him. I'd always been so careful with preventing pregnancy, but during my relationship with him, I took stupid risks. I was so high in lust with this guy, it's embarrassing. The things he'd asked me to do, I'd say yes to almost anything, even when I knew it was a bad idea. I was in love with him, or I thought I was. I hadn't intentionally wanted to get pregnant. I would of course dream about being his wife and having a family, but I knew that wouldn't be a possibility while he had this arrangement with his actual wife. I didn't get pregnant on purpose with any intention of him leaving her for me, even if I wished that we could be a real, normal couple. I was surprised by how excited I was to be pregnant with his baby. I wanted that baby once I found out I was pregnant. The thought of carrying this baby of the man I loved was so special to me, but I knew he probably wouldn't feel the same. I told him I was pregnant, and he told me I couldn't keep the baby. I expected his reaction, but I was devastated, and it hurt me to my core that he didn't feel the same way I did. He offered to pay, to make a whole weekend of it somewhere exciting. WTF? And to buy me something special if I'd just please get rid of the baby. He explained that he didn't want any more kids, and that he couldn't openly be a father to another kid when he and his wife were still pretending to be happily married to the outside world. I agreed to do what he wanted, and we made plans for him to pick me up and find somewhere out of town to go get it done. I was all packed the night he was going to pick me up, but I started to feel really scared and really unsafe about the whole thing. I took my bag and checked myself into a hotel to hide because I couldn't go with him. I texted him to say I promised to never contact him again and to never name him as the father or go after child support if he'd promised to leave me alone. At first, he tried to sweet-talk me into doing what he wanted. When I didn't cave in, he said some very nasty things to me and that I essentially better never contact him again or show up at his door. I have a 2-year-old now. At times, it's been difficult, but overall, we are thriving as best we can. I have kept my word about not naming his as the father or requesting child support. His wife contacted me on social media. Well, she's his ex-wife now. She wants to talk to me. She found out about me and told me that she divorced him 6 months ago. She wants her children to know their sibling and for my child to know his siblings. That's weird to me. I haven't responded back to her yet. I am unsure about how to approach this. How do I respond to this? I wonder if I'm being selfish by not exploring an option for my child to know his siblings, if she's being genuine about that. If I was married and my husband fathered a child outside of our marriage, I don't think I'd feel the same that she does. Comments. Commenter. OP, are you sure this is truly his ex-wife contacting you? Could it be him using her account or fake account to initiate contact with you for some twisted reason? Please be careful and make wise decisions when agreeing to meet this woman and her kids. I know you want to do the right thing, just be very careful. Oop. Technically, no, I have no way to know that it's actually her at this point. Commenter, since she knows and is divorced now, I would summon him for child support. Ask for a DNA test. The money is for your child deserves it. Commenter, so many people telling you to go for it for the sake of the child and possible child support. But I would say that you have good instincts which served you well. Don't ignore them now. You are leading a happy life with your child. You have survived so far without his financial help. Letting her and the children into your lives will be inviting him back into your life too. You also don't know what her intentions are, or if it is even her who is contacting you. No matter what, It will be inviting him back into your life in some way. He made you feel unsafe and wanted you to get rid of your child. He also abandoned you and your child. He cheated on his wife and kids for a long time. He is not a good guy. I would say keep him out of your life. Continue as you are. Update. 22 days later. I made a post 3 weeks ago and things have only gotten stranger. I had an affair with a married man a few years ago. I regret it and I will never do anything like that ever again. I knew it was wrong from the very beginning, but he captivated me. I was naive. I allowed myself to believe when he told me they were pretty much just married on paper for the sake of their kids. I got pregnant, and while he tried to talk me into getting an abortion, I ultimately decided to keep the baby. I have a 2-year-old little boy now. I promised this man that I wouldn't expose our affair, and I wouldn't formally identify him as the father or request child support. I did that because he was becoming very nasty about the whole thing, and I felt like due to the mess that I had created and the way I felt by the end of it, a clean break with no involvement with him would be the best thing for everyone. I moved back to where my family is, hundreds of miles from where he and his family live. About a month ago, his ex-wife reached out to me via social media, claiming they had been divorced for 6 months and that she wanted our children to be able to know each other. Now, their kids are teenagers, so I didn't really think they'd want anything to do with the toddler and the woman their father was having an affair with. It seemed odd to me. After posting here, I sort of decided that I wouldn't respond to her. I'd just ignore it. She just sent me the one message, so it wasn't as if she was badgering me about talking to me or meeting me. On Friday night, I decided to message her. I don't really know why. I think it was really just for my sake, so I could have the chance to apologize to her. I told her that I would be more comfortable speaking with her face-to-face since I couldn't trust that it was really her. She said she understood. I was too nervous to meet her in person, but we did a video chat. I didn't know what to expect, if this was all a ploy just to unleash her fury on me or what. I mean, I deserve that. She wouldn't be wrong to feel that way. It was really her. She told me she discovered our affair when she found communications between the two of us after our relationship had ended. She told me I'm one of many women he had affairs with over the years, and she knew about somebody even before he met me. But she didn't divorce him at the time. Finding out about my child was the final straw for her. I told her I was sorry for my relationship with her husband and admitted that I knew he was married. She graciously told me she forgives me, and that while she harbored a lot of anger towards me initially, she ultimately blames her husband. I'm not blameless, but she chooses to not hate me, essentially. She said she couldn't have said this 6 months ago or a year ago when she first found out about me, but she has moved past that. She still has anger toward him, in addition to many other emotions surrounding him. She started pouring out her heart to me about their 20-plus-year marriage and life together, and it was very awkward because what do I even say? Her kids know about me and my son. She says they're very mad at their father. Somehow I don't think they're mad about the fact that he's not involved with my son's life. And why would they be mad about that? I would hate me if I were them. I told her with my son being so little right now, I don't really feel comfortable with him meeting her kids or being involved with their family. I feel unsure about it, and it's just not something I feel needs to happen right now. Then she told me her ex-husband was in a bad accident 2 months ago. He's fine now. Still not allowed to return to all his normal activities just yet, but will be fine. He is probably the most physically active person I've ever met. Barely ever seems to sit down, so he must be terribly annoying to be around if he's not allowed to go all the time. She told me he wants to meet my son. Apparently, she moved back in with him temporarily when he first came home from the hospital. She said the accident really shook him up and he has been expressing a lot of regret about my son, not being involved, not providing for him. So now it's like, was everything she said just a lie and he somehow got her to reach out to me on his behalf? And she actually did it? It felt almost like a relief talking to her initially, but then it's like, was any of that true or you were just trying to be his messenger? I don't even know if that part is true now. Why wouldn't he just contact me himself? I'm just feeling so uneasy about the whole thing now. Comments. Commenter. I'm going to be straight with you. The man is likely high in narcissistic traits and the woman is not going to leave him. She will likely end up with him again. I wouldn't trust anything either of them say as genuine. Think about your son in all this because if he is emotionally or physically hurt, it could linger the rest of his life. He would be better off thinking his dad just isn't around. Oop. He thinks he's the greatest thing on planet Earth. At one time, I found this attractive for some reason. Commenter: I think we told you not to trust her. Advice still stands. Commenter: exactly. She lives with him. How can you trust someone like that? Oop. Well, the advice was very mixed. ETA. And I was cautious. I didn't give her any of my contact info, didn't tell her my son's name, kept person details very sparse. Commenter: he may go out and fool around with those other women, but he comes home to me. Asterisk. AKA, he buys me everything I could ever want, so I give him permission to cheat. Uop. He did buy her her own business, so you may have a point. Commenter: how did she find your profile? Might be time to delete Facebook and make your Insta private. I wouldn't put it past them to try to use this baby as a second chance for their marriage. Commenter: talk to a lawyer. It seems like they are about to try to take your son from you. Update 2. I posted about this few months ago. To summarize very quickly, when I was fresh out of college, I had an affair with a married man and father. I became pregnant. He wanted me to get an abortion. He had arranged to take me away in a vacation to get an abortion. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I agreed to go along with what we wanted. At the last minute, when he was on his way to come pick me up, I told him I couldn't go through with the abortion. I just really didn't feel comfortable about his plan and how he was orchestrating everything. It scared me. I realized at that time how deep I had gone with this mistake, how screwed up the whole relationship was. He was really mad. He threatened me, said a lot of nasty things to me. I told him if he just left me alone and let me have my baby then, I'd leave him alone and wouldn't name him as the father or seek child support. I moved back home. I was living in a different state when I met him. I kept my word and I did name him as the father or seek to establish paternity. I have never sought child support. My child is 2 now. A few months ago, his wife contacted me via social media. At first, she made it seem like she wanted my child to have the opportunity to know his siblings. It was sort of weird since the siblings are teenagers. She said she had divorced him 6 months prior. I agreed to talk to her virtually, not in person. I felt that I owed it to her to apologize for what I had done. I do feel bad about it. But at the end of the conversation, I told her that I didn't feel it was the appropriate time to connect my son with her kids. He's a toddler, and they're teens. Plus, I had promised her husband to stay out of his life. That's when she told me that he was recently in a bad accident, and she had been helping to take care of him. Supposedly, he was going to be fine and was fairly recovered at that point, but she said he had expressed interest to meet our child. So she was basically his messenger. I have not been in contact with her since then. I deleted my social media. I don't know why, but the whole thing just really made me uncomfortable since I last posted her. Then, I received a handwritten letter from him. In it, he expressed how he wanted to get to know our son. He wants to be a father to our son. He wants to provide financially for him. He'd like us to come visit him. He asked me to sign a paternity affidavit. I refused to do so. I know he is my son's father, but I'm not going to make this that easy for him. After the things he said to me and threatened me with, he at least has to work for this. At that point, my parents felt that we needed to meet with a lawyer. All communication from me has gone through a lawyer. I have never responded to him personally, directly. Now I have a court order for paternity. I have to present my son to have a specimen taken tomorrow. I already know what it's going to say. It's not that I don't want my son to have a dad in his life, it's just the whole situation is a mess. And he lives a few states away from me. I don't know what to do. I can't really do anything. He's doing things legally. Next, I'm sure he'll petition for some form of custody or visitation. He's not married anymore, supposedly, but he's a lot more established than I am. He has considerably more financial resources. I also know he has all sorts of connections where he lives. Luckily, they don't hold as much weight here in my state, but it's still so scary to me. I'm a bad mom. I brought my son into this world knowing it was a messy situation. I just got so comfortable with it just being the 2 of us, and now I don't want to give that up. Okay, next story. Aita, for having a kid when my ex-wife is going through menopause. My ex-wife, 45F, and I, 43M, are in the process of divorce. We have 2 kids in high school. She started to hate me during our last year of my marriage, along with mood swings and just being shitty. Only thing I could think of at that time was that she is being hormonal. She didn't like when I told her she is being hormonal. She would get defensive. I told her to see a doctor. She refused. I don't think she would have listened to me. I gave her ultimatum to go to therapy and go see a doctor, or we are done. She asked for divorce. I didn't argue. I told her fine if that's what she wants. She told me I am a mediocre husband and she is better off alone. That actually definitely defines me. I am a mediocre husband. I am not very good looking. I am not a millionaire. I never cheated, so I guess I am not a bad husband, just mediocre. She filed the petition for divorce. Then a few months later, she suddenly withdrew it and told me that she is having second thoughts. I filed the petition myself because I met a woman, 36F, who was nice to me, which came as a shock to my system. I couldn't have gone back to my ex-wife after that. Turns out my ex-wife's sister convinced her to see a doctor as she discussed about her period's irregularities with her. She was going through perimenopause, and she just started HRT. She started dragging the process, so we have been going through divorce for like forever. My girlfriend found out she is pregnant. I told her that I am a mediocre dude. That's why my ex left me. She told me that she is also a mediocre woman and she wants to raise a mediocre kid with me and live in a mediocre house and live a mediocre life. So she is now my fiancé and wife as soon as I get divorced. I thought news of her pregnancy will make my ex understand that our marriage ended, but she went crazy about it. She is now claiming I abandoned her when she needed me the most, that I am a bad person for having a kid when she is going through menopause. She left me first. Comments. Commenter. She told me I am a mediocre husband and she is better off alone. That actually definitely defines me. I am a mediocre husband. I am not very good looking. I am not a millionaire. I never cheated, so I guess I am not a bad husband, just mediocre. She filed the petition for divorce. That should have been the end of the story right there. She left me first. Enough said. NTA. Commenter. She filed for divorce. Were you supposed to crumple into a ball and not go on without her? NTA. Commenter. I honestly expect that she was a completely different person when she wasn't on HRT and has basically woken up to realize she blew up her entire life with a person she actually loved and valued. It's tragic, my heart goes out to her, but it's not OP's fault. Commenter. This. 100%. I know that hormones are crazy how they affect people with moods and other things, but it isn't his fault. It happened. Commenter. NTA. When an ultimatum is issued, that is the last choice you get. She made her choice. Her regret is her problem, not yours. Congrats on your mediocre new family. Don't forget about your other kids. They're going to need you. Oop. Thanks. Have a great mediocre day. Honestly, boredom is underrated. Update. 6 days later. I have been traveling a lot since I posted, so I didn't get a chance to read all your responses. It seems that people found my post too relatable. It stirred a wide variety of emotions. I have been getting a lot of messages from men whose wives are divorcing them after they went through menopause. I feel for you guys. I went through the same confusion and chaos that is forced into your life when your wife leaves you. I was never suicidal, though. It may sound cliché, but I have great appreciation for life. I believe in moving forward, whatever it takes. Every day I have to make a choice between dwelling on past or moving forward. It's not a hard choice. It's the actions needed to fulfill that choice that are hard. So I am not here to tell you that you are weak for feeling depressed or wanting your old life back. You are not weak. That brings me to people who dislike that I moved on so fast. As soon as my ex-wife filed for divorce, there was no going back. There are some things that can never be taken back, even when you did those things during menopause. I would never have taken her back, even if I was alone. Many people have sent me articles about how I should have actually handled my ex-wife's issues. I admit that I could have done way more for her. I could have handled things differently. I guess that's where my being mediocre husband comes in. She had the choice between mediocre husband and no husband, and she chose the later. I believe that even in her most confused state, there has to be central belief system, something she considered important. I was not part of it. My kids definitely were. She didn't abandon them. She considered them important, which makes sense because to her I was nothing special, someone mediocre. Women who divorced their husbands during menopause just never really cared that much about them. I read your articles and women have been happy about their decisions to divorce their husbands. They blame it on the husband's faults, and truth is really irrelevant at that point. I get what you guys are saying, but my wife is not a child. She had the power to divorce me, and she did. I don't think it's fair to expect husbands to fight even after their wife files for divorce. As I said, some things can never be changed back once done. I didn't divorce her first. I may have been the worst husband there is, but I didn't divorce her first. Regarding my kids, when my ex-wife filed for divorce, her behavior was on the display for my kids to see. They know exactly what happened. When my ex-wife changed her mind, they did try to change my mind, but I told them I will never take her back, so there is no point. It took time, but they have accepted it and have moved on. It's easier to be a victim than accepting that your own choices led to where you are it. I have been guilty of it, and so is my ex. Now to the hard part. Putting one foot after another. What other choice there is? Comments. Commenter, NTA all the way around, just take your time with the new girl, man. I feel like I'm reading too much into too little, but take your time in getting to know her. Also, there has to be central belief system, something she considered important. I was not part of it. This is very true. Many don't realize how some folks have a default mentality to value what's important, and you definitely aren't it. It sounds like she valued your kids, which 100% cool, but IDK, if noticed this, she valued her sister's input more than yours. It makes you wonder when the next time it will happen, and how deep that could go. Commenter. Congratulations. Good luck with the new family. What your ex-wife is dealing with are called consequences. Most people hate them. How do you like these stories? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.